right, everybody. Welcome back. We are on the second live stream here of the Buckeye Breakdown. It is Owen Smith and Matt Warner. I will start off by saying there is like a 82% chance that this turns into a solo pod, and you'll just have to deal with me and interact with me in the live chat. But we do have Matt Warner on audio joining from a two-star motel somewhere in the middle of the country. Matt, can we hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I am.
Okay.
I am indeed on hotel Wi-Fi. We tried to do myself on cam. That just simply was not working at all. So we're gonna go audio only. How do I sound? Is it okay?
Yeah, I mean, you sound great. I mean, it's yeah, we're here. We're here. We're live. We're here.
Okay.
People in the comments, if you start to have issues and I need to kick Matthew out of here, we can, but he's on video and he's going to start glitching out instantly. But either way, we are back after, and you know what? It's perfect timing because we are back after a week of no Buckeye football, which is just horrendous for week 3 of the college football season. But we dealt with it. We survived. Matt, how did you do without Buckeye football this past weekend?
Yeah, it was actually it was kind of good-ish timing. I was gonna have to catch a flight on Saturday anyways to head to San Antonio, which is where I am now. Lovely city. Unless you're Chuck and Shaq. But
So to say.
yeah, but no, it was good timing. I got to sit at the airport and catch some of the games. Like, I got to watch quite a bit of the noon kickoff. I got to watch quite a bit of those midday games. I didn't get to see some of the late night football where there was some pretty decent action. Like, you look across those games, like the Georgia Kentucky game is probably the most notable. Wait, are they as good as we think they are, kind of thing. But no, it was a good weekend. I've said this to everybody that I've talked to this weekend that cares about college football, but I hate the week 3 bye.
Yeah.
Like, especially when week 1 started off slow first half, built momentum into the second half. Week 2 started off really hot, a lot of momentum built into that game, and then you take this small break before you go play Marshall, who's also just not a great team. So while I enjoyed the timing of it because I knew I wouldn't miss a Buckeye game and not just be at the comfort of my house watching a football game, I still hate the week 3 bye that we got ourselves in.
Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous. I don't know what the entire cause is. There he is. He's gonna. How many times do we think we get flashes of Matthew? Over
Over set
under.
at 45.
Yeah. So, but either way, and here's the beautiful thing about doing a live show with somebody you can't see. You're gonna miss some cues and miss some things here and there. But either way. Well, yeah, I mean, let's get into it. There's no hiding, and we're gonna get into some more college football later into the show. Actually, talk about a little bit what happened, but let's kick things off with the Buckeyes. I've been missing it. I want to quickly preview what's going on. He's back. Oh, good God, he's back, and it is time to get into what we kind of think of the game. So it's the last non-conference opponent of the regular season with Marshall. You already mentioned that. So let's just get straight into it with some predictions. Let's make it short and sweet on this front. Just get straight to it. Every week we do an offensive MVP, a defensive MVP, and then for these anticipated blowouts, we always do a backup player or a special teams MVP as well. Just try to put stat lines to it. Try to give you a good idea of kind of what we're anticipating for the upcoming week. So let's get into the offensive side of the ball. I don't know who drafted first last time, but since you are slumming it in that one-star motel in the middle of Houston or San Antonio, wherever you're at, Let's go ahead and give you the offensive MVP number one pick. Matthew, who do you like on the offensive side of the ball this week?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this one maybe a little short and sweet, but I think Will Howard's my guy. Like you and I have went with like more skill position, running back, wide receiver kind of guys. I think what you're gonna see is a guy that is getting more comfortable in that position at quarterback with this Buckeyes offense. Like you saw kind of the building of confidence from week 1 to week 2. And I think this might be the week that you see a little bit more designed run action for Will Howard. Not going to lay it on like thick, but I think you're going to see him a little bit more involved in the run game as like, hey, we're gearing up for Big Ten play. You know, we go see Michigan State, and then we go see, Oregon the following week. Or sorry, is it Iowa the following week? I can't remember how that.
Yeah, it's like some sort of build up. Yeah, we'll
get there. But like I think you have to start putting that in a live action setting outside of like just going against your own team in practice where things are a little slowed down. Like you're in the season, you're not going full speed, killing each other like you were before the season started. So you got to start feeling those things out in a game setting. I think this is a good opportunity to do that. And I think, Buckeye fans saw the little keeper for 4 or 5 yards last week for that touchdown. You saw the speed, the athleticism. I think you're going to see a little bit more of it outside of just red zone packages where he's going to, rattle off 9, 10, 11 yards to go score. I sound about as nasally as you could possibly sound. This is awful. The more I'm talking, the more it sounds incredibly bad. But I got Will Howard on the offensive side of the football.
It's the mold in that 1-star motel that you're staying in. Okay, Will Howard, I like it. I heard him, dude. I'm bought in on Will Howard. I'm like, again, hate to beat the dead horse of the Syracuse legend, but the difference between going from what we had to what we have now, I just love it, and I'm very, very happy. Very, very happy with that. But I heard him on a podcast over the bye week. He was it was a bigger, it wasn't just a Buckeye podcast. And the guy, he's gone through a lot in his college career. Like he, was, I guess, basically replaced by an incoming star. So either way,
that incoming star, like I watched him this weekend. He was fine, but I watched that and I'm like, this is the guy that they were like uber confident we are moving on from Will Howard to go to this guy.
I think at least the way that the show that I listened to put it was that, and Will Howard kind of briefly touched on it, probably not a lot he can get into, but I think it was the fact that he was like the highest recruited quarterback to come into Kansas State, which again, to us, to Ohio State fans, to a lot of these, Big Ten SEC quarterbacks, some of these guys don't necessarily flash to us, but they put so much NIL resources. I think that's kind of what Will Howard hinted at a little bit, that there was a lot of NIL behind this guy to get him on campus, that there was probably some donors that were expecting him to play, whether or not Will Howard was the better solution for 2024 or not. It's all about probably building up to next year. But I agree. Like we got the better end of that one. If you were to tell me, did you want Avery Johnson or do you want Will Howard? I think we got the better end of that deal for this season for sure.
I get the side of youth as well, of like, this is a guy we can build our program around for the next 2 to 3 years versus Will Howard. He had another year and he's moving on. But I just watched that game and he made made some really good plays, made some bonehead plays. And Kansas State's in a prime position to possibly go make some noise in the Big 12, and find themselves in the college football playoff. So, I mean, it's one of those same like McCord to Syracuse, we get Howard. Like it kind of feels like both parties may have won. But from a Buckeye perspective, I'm looking at them like we won this outright.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then you got people like Hayden who are complaining that we could have gone better, but I'll give that a few more. Let's have this conversation in like December, November. Let's see how things go in the shoe after Thanksgiving, and then I may have some different comments on that. But Cam Ward, don't get me wrong, did a great job beating my alma mater in Ball State, just crushing them this past weekend. But we'll see what happens as we get down the road. But I bought into Will Howard. I like the pick. On my end, just to get to the offensive MVP, I'm going to go Trevion Henderson. Reason being, I spend probably 2, 3, 4 hours preparing for this show, and that gets me every time. Spend 2, 3, 4 hours preparing for the show, really breaking down kind of the opponent, and I found out that they're just not very good at running or defense against the run. So I'm going Trevion Henderson. I think he has 125 yards rushing. I don't know how many carries, probably 10 or so. I think he busted a long one for a tutty. So I'm going over 100 yards, 125 yards with a touchdown for old Trevion Henderson. But because we have that backfield that we do, I mean, that very easily could be Judkins as well. So yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I like that. Like I could see this backfield being like every other week you're like, oh crap, like Judkins just went off for 140 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns, and the next week it's Trevion Henderson. I'm going to take a pause. This is a very professional podcast live stream, and the comments are getting a little outrageous. We also did not need to pin that one. I'm going to need you guys to calm down. Craig, Hayden, we're going to have to calm down a little bit. I'm just kidding. I don't really care. Don't beat up dead horses. It's a wild comment.
Oh,
no, I like the pick of Trevion Henderson. And also, I could care less what you guys are commenting as long as it is legal. That is perfectly fine with me, and very much appreciate you guys being here. I like Trevion Henderson. I think that's a good pick. Do we think we see Donovan Jackson this week?
Well, it would be wild if we saw Donovan Jackson this week. Because I guess it wouldn't be wild. I don't know, man. I think that there's so much football to be played, and I think Saraveld's been I know there's the game reps and stuff, but I don't know. I think that if there's any sort of doubt, I think that you rest him. There's so much football coming up that I'm not worried about, but it's just going to be there's plenty of time for him, and he's a veteran. He's a senior. He knows what he's doing. I guess the only thing would be, get that chemistry built up again. But
yeah, I think if there wasn't as good of a performance in week 2, like we didn't see that step up from the offensive line, I think there's a good chance he plays this weekend, or like maybe. But the fact that they dominated, the run game got going, and things seem to be clicking for that offensive line. If I'm Ryan Day and I'm Chip Kelly, I say, look, because he wants to play. It's not that he doesn't want to be on the field. He's a guy that's fighting to be a top level first round draft pick kind of guy. Obviously, he's going to want to be out there. But as we just saw one of the comments, like Big Ten play is going to be a grind. We're seeing teams that are much better than we initially anticipated, with like IU looking like they're a little frisky. Nebraska looks good. The Big Ten, very, very well put in the comments, like the schedule went from like a C to like a solid B pretty quickly after 2 weeks. Now, that could all fall apart. Who knows? But if I'm Ryan Day, I'm resting Donovan Jackson and letting that backup guard get some more experience. So in the event that you need him in the future, he's got a ton of first rep experience with that offense. Things aren't going to be this awkward. We're without our first round draft pick guard. What do we do? So I was curious your thoughts on that. I think he rests one more week, and we go into Big Ten play with him starting, against Michigan State. So
yeah, because I mean, you still have a natural ramp up. I'd say. I mean, Iowa's not going to be easy. I mean, you do have to go on the road to Michigan State, but those are now like the easier part of the schedule. I mean, I guess you do have Purdue coming up, but you have an Oregon, Nebraska, Penn State little run there. So yeah, let's not risk it against Marshall. But okay, defensive side of the ball. I'll give it back to you.
Oh, I get to go first again.
I'll give it to you again. You're dealing with a lot. You're going through the elements. I also need to just calm myself down after seeing
what happened.
Yeah.
Did my camera flip on again?
I think so.
Dang it. It keeps happening. Defensive side, I'm going to go with it because it hasn't happened yet, and I fully expect this to be one of the weeks. And when I say it hasn't happened yet, the dude's played phenomenal. But I think Jack Sawyer is going to wreak havoc and have a phenomenal week against Marshall. I'm predicting 2 sacks, which has been very, very hard to come by in this Buckeye offense where like the sacks have been spread around. I think this is the week where he gets home, gets 2 sacks, and I'm going to call one forced fumble. One forced fumble on the quarterback, and put the Buckeyes in really good field position to go score. And I'm going to call it early. I'm going to say it happens within the first 3 drives that Marshall has.
Okay, I like it.
That's like that's an uber specific bold prediction that I'm going with. Forced fumble by Jack Sawyer within the first 3 drives. Book it. You can find it on FanDuel plus 2,800 odds. Go ahead and place that bet now.
Yeah, with our partner FanDuel. Cool. No, I like that. I mean, Jack Sawyer. Not all of it's shown up on the stat sheet so far, but he's just making an impact for this defense. And yeah, I think we probably wants to add some stats to the book. So I like it. Again, pretty bold, but I like it. I'm gonna go Denzel. I think that clearly got pulled early from the previous game, so has had extra time to rest compared to the rest of the team. I'm calling an interception for him again. Remind the nation who he is. Remind the Buckeyes who he is after being out for a half. So excited to see what he does. But yeah, calling the interception on this one, and I'm not going to call it a pick six.
What drive, buddy? Go ahead and call it. Don't be soft.
We'll call it on the. So you said the 3rd drive or within the first 3 drives?
Yeah, I was going to say, don't pick the 3rd drive. That's kind of rude. That's my drive.
2nd drive.
Okay. So we're going to have a pick on the 2nd drive and then a forced fumble on the 3rd. That puts the Buckeyes up like 21-0 pretty quick. And I bullied you out of picking the 3rd. I would have 100% said, no, I'm going to pick the 3rd. I'm picking the 3rd so that if it happens, I can just talk shit to you for the rest of the week on the live stream. There's cussing. Sorry for cussing.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so, all right. Man, you got me all jumbled up tonight. That's all right, buddy.
I know I do. This is an interesting dynamic because I hold so much power being able to just quickly go on screen without messing everything up.
Yeah.
And then I've got just my good buddies in the comments just throwing out some chaotic things. It's fun.
Gotta put the blinders on.
You can do
okay.
This is your MJ flu game. You're playing through a lot of adversity tonight. You got this. You're doing great.
All right. I doubt it. All right, so Jack Sawyer, Denzel Burke, and then let's go backup or special teams. I'll give it to you again for the backup on either side of the ball, or if you think that Brandon Ennis is going to do something special on punt return.
I'm going to go.
What do you got in mind?
I'm going to go special teams, and I'm going to go Mylan Graham.
Oh, okay.
There was some reports after week 2 that Ryan Day has been thrilled with Mylan Graham and would like to get him a little bit more involved, whether that be special teams or seeing the field on some of those, 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver sets that we're throwing. I think what we're going to see is him possibly stepping in for Brandon Ennis on a punt return, and this might be a little later into the game. I'm going to call Mylan Graham punt return for a touchdown. That's my big prediction. It might be a kick return. I don't know, but he's going to have a very big play, like for a true freshman that is in this like weird shadow of Jeremiah Smith. Like this dude plays starting as a wide receiver for most programs across the country. Unfortunately, he's playing behind Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and Emeka Egbuka. Like, I like that Ryan Day kind of, especially in the transfer portal era, basically like went out of his way to say, this is a guy that like we want to get more involved in our offense, that we're thrilled with, that like he's done all the right things, and we want him to be a contributor for our team. So that's like my bold thing. They're going to find a way to get him involved in special teams, and he's going to take one to the house.
Okay. I didn't know that you were going to have him punt return or kick return a touchdown, so kind of takes a little bit of the thunder away here. But I am going to go with Brandon Ennis. I think that I agree with Hayden. I think this is the week. I'm going to double down, triple down, quadruple down on this until it happens. Excited to see something happen with Brandon Ennis, and I think this could be the week. So, we're hoping so. So
this is kind of like we're picking on you a little bit because I have no pressure on me. I'm not on camera. I can just basically do whatever I want over here, and you're just trying to steer the ship home.
Trying to make things happen.
Yeah, you're getting ganged up on a little bit. This is unfair. I'm about to crack open to the $6 smart water that the this 2-star motel wants me to pay for.
Love it. Okay. All right. Last couple things to preview, and then we'll get to the rest of the college football world and talk about kind of different things that happened and impacted the Buckeyes across the landscape there. But before we do that, we are going to talk about some bets. There's, again, at this point in the week, not a ton out there. So actually one thing that we're going to start doing, big reveal here, is that we're going to do like a quick 5-10 minute video on Friday or Saturday, once kind of more of the lines have released, more of those anytime touchdown odds have released, and do more of a betting the Bucks show. Again, really quick, 5-10 minutes that will be live on YouTube. And be shared out to X and some of our other social media as well. But for now, the main line is released. Buckeyes are favored by 39.5. Over under, I believe, is 51.5. Matt, what do you like so far on those two lines? Are you thinking the over? Do you think the Buckeyes continue the trend, or are you thinking this could be a slower start to the week with the bye week last week?
Yeah, with the bye week, and Marshall having a tendency to play above their competition against really good opponents. This is like one of those like the over isn't super intriguing. I think it was 51 was the last I saw it. Buckeyes 39.5. Like if the Buckeyes are 39.5, that means they've got to, win 42 to 10 to beat it. I don't think we give up 10 points, but it's just neither one of them are super intriguing. I am interested to see some of the player props and like individual lines come out, because I will want to put some money down on those things, but not a ton that I'm like just straight up over under and spread. Buckeyes money line. I'll take Buckeyes money line.
Yeah, baby.
That's the one that I'm pretty confident. What did I mess something up on the math?
I might have missed it too, but we'll see what the comments come back with. The math ain't math, and
I said the over under was 51, and I said that would mean the Buckeyes would have to win 42 to 10. That's 52 points.
I guess maybe they're saying they wouldn't cover the spread with that.
Okay. I understand the spread part. I was talking about the over under on, like, if we're talking about the over under of 52, that would require a 42-10. But I understand. You know what? Hey,
we're getting better. This is improvement week for us.
Yeah, this is our improvement. Yeah, we're on a bye week as well.
Yeah, very, very obviously.
I'm in the slums of San Antonio over here. Give me a break.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the only bet that I like, which cashed last time, is the first quarter total is 13.5. Over under for both teams. So that's just two touchdowns. Again, I don't expect the Buckeyes to give up one, so that's assuming that they get a quick score and a stop and another quick score within the first 15 minutes. But I think that I'm not expecting the same troubles that they had coming into week one. I think that they, at least things that I've heard and seen around kind of the Buckeye beat and some of just the people close to the program, it sounds like they were taking this week like pretty seriously. Like it wasn't a big like travel back home and see your family type week. Like very much like this is
they're in school and they can't just travel back home and see. They have classes they need to go to.
For sure.
Basket weaving 101.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, anyways, I'm expecting a fast start. I'm hoping to get to over on that. We'll see if I actually bet that as we get into the betting the Bucks later this week. So check that out on our social media at Buckeye BDN, because our other Twitter got suspended.
We went live once and they suspended our Elon suspended us after we went live once. The beacon of free speech shut us down really quickly.
Yeah, gotta love it. So, okay, let's get to the rest of the college football. Again, a lot happened over the weekend, but there's also a lot that's happening this upcoming weekend as well. Matt, I'll hand it to you. What's kind of top of your mind as it relates to impacting the Buckeyes the most across either the Big Ten or just the college football landscape as a whole?
So a couple things, like obviously as Buckeye fans, we have to mention Michigan squeaking out a 10-point, NIU squeaking out a little loosely there. Never felt like they were in a position to lose that game. But they had struggles, and like the struggles continue to come from the quarterback position. It was announced today that Alex Orji is going to be starting quarterback against USC, which to me is insane. Like we rode with Davis Warren for 3 weeks, and then our first big matchup, when the guy hasn't been out on the field a ton with the ones, we're going to throw them up against USC, who looks a lot better than I think anybody expected them, especially on the defensive side of the football. I saw people posting like the spring game highlights of Alex Orji, and by highlights I mean him just missing every wide receiver. One of my favorite tweets that I saw today was Alex Orji. Orji is when you set 8 guys up in the interior ready to get into the box. That is exactly what USC is going to do against Alex Orji. It's going to be a very predictable, like piston type offense. Very, I'm not going to call it an RPO. It's going to be a run option with, Donovan Edwards, who can't seem to get more than 3 yards a carry against, some of these very, very bad defenses. Like, things don't seem great up north. I think that's notable for Buckeye fans. But also, like, this is one you want to tune into when you start thinking about, like, November 30th, but also who might we face in a Big Ten championship game if we do our job and take care of Oregon and the Penn States and those folks. This is a game like I want to watch. I want to see what Alex Orji is about. Did you get a chance to watch much of that Michigan Arkansas State game?
I had it on in the quad box or whatever you call it on YouTube TV, watching some of the other games, but I wasn't super dialed in. It was more kind of scoreboard watching and like really hoping that they would stumble against that opponent, but didn't watch a ton outside of just seeing some of the low lights out there from the quarterback, and just yeah, man, it's nice. It's nice to kind of see this. I think the one thing that just pisses me off though is like Harbaugh's getting his redemption arc or whatever you call it in the NFL. Like J.K. Dobbins is like, that's my coach, and you see the video of him like hitting up Herbert, and it's like, this dude is just so. Of course he escaped it. Of course he's like the NFL sweetheart again for a little bit until he's inevitably hated, because that's naturally what happens to the guy everywhere he goes. But
he's like everybody's hero until you find out he's the he's the villain. Like it's right. It pains me that they started off the year 0-2 against 2 bad football teams. Like, let's just call it spade to spade. Like, I still don't think the Chargers are great, and I think Harbaugh is going to get found out pretty quickly in the NFL. Maybe not. Maybe he ends up being really good. Either way, he left a dumpster fire in Ann Arbor that they're struggling to contain and figure out what to do next. But Sherrone Moore got paid. Finally got a contract.
Yeah, well, he's gone the minute the NOA gets, whatever ends up happening with that. Because
what's going on with that? Are they in trouble for something?
I don't know. We'll find out. It's pretty tight-lipped up there on that right now. So yeah. So the spread is up to like 19.5 for November. I'm very, like, especially with like what happens with this week, and very curious to see what that number, because they just don't have. Sure, start Orji, like see how things go. They just don't have a whole lot of hope at quarterback. Their Madden cover guy or college football cover guy is not what people thought he was, which again, like if you don't watch the past 3 years of him versus Ohio State, you kind of predicted that. But yeah, man, it's just like I'm very curious to see what happens with their season, because I knew that they weren't going to be undefeated. I knew that they would probably be struggling to get into the playoff, but I did not expect them to look the way that they are. It makes me very happy. It makes me very, very happy, and I cannot wait. I told you, I think it's like 62-17, and giving up 17 to that team in November.
That's the other thing. It's like the defense hasn't even looked great. Like Arkansas State was a couple chip shot field goals that they missed, like a 39-yarder and a 42-yarder, away from that being a ball game. They won by 10. It was very close to being a much closer game where you face Dave. You make Davis Warren have to actually go make plays instead of just handing the ball off into a loaded box where they go get 4 yards at 3 to 4 yards at a time and marched out. Like, nobody feels comfortable right now. Also, Colston Loveland leaves that game with a shoulder injury. I haven't seen any updates from that. I don't know what the plan is against USC. I would assume he's going to play. But like, things don't look great in Ann Arbor, and we'll quit beating off a dead horse, as Craig said, and we'll move on from that team up north. The other Big Ten matchup that was the big new kickoff, Wisconsin and Alabama. I have mixed feelings about that because Alabama, for the most part, kind of dominated that game. You have a quarterback that goes out very, very early, and a guy that came in that looked like if we had if the cameras were high definition enough, you would have seen poop stains in his pants facing that Alabama defense. He just looked uncomfortable from the start. But like they fought really well. Wisconsin sucks. Like they're not a great football team, but you can kind of see what Fickle is trying to do, and it just didn't work when you go down your starting quarterback early in that matchup, and like you're already playing with a smaller deck of cards than you came in with. Like it felt like Alabama controlled that game really well, but I'm not sold that is a good indicator that Alabama's an elite program, if that makes sense.
No, I 100% agree. I think that there's a lot of hype behind Alabama, just naturally, right? They're the big brand, and if you purely look at the scoreboard across, I mean, 42-16, 42-10, 63-0, like that's what Alabama should be doing to all these teams. So I think that, yeah, that's I'm looking forward to the game. You think that you truly think that like you would come to expect something like this? You think that you would sit here and it's happened 17 times already and you would go, you know what, next time it's not going to get me, but it is so unexpected and it is so middle of what is going on through my brain that like it just interrupts everything.
Yeah, for our audio listeners, all of them, Grandma, I keep coming off of camera and just doing very dumb things in the middle of Owen talking, and it's been the most fun I've had this weekend, which isn't hard to beat when you're at an education conference. Bill, if you're listening to this, I didn't mean that. But yeah, I am being slightly an idiot, and there was a free bar for the hour and a half before I came up here. So might explain a little bit of where I'm at mentally. But not a ton to talk about more on the Wisconsin front. Like I said, they were dealt a bad hand. Georgia, I didn't get to watch a ton of this game. Like, I was wheels up, no internet on my flight, which I will be suing. But no internet on my flight. But I know it was ugly. Like, it was a bad head coaching decision away from Kentucky walking out of there with a upset win if they just pick up 7 yards on fourth down.
And also not a very good Kentucky team. Like,
like a Kentucky team that got taken to like the backyard against South Carolina last week, who also played pretty well against LSU, which I was really disappointed. I love Brian Kelly, great guy, one of the most likable coaches in college football. It really sucked to see them lose, but yeah, like Kentucky's not great. Georgia looked like they had some problems, and not being able to move the ball, relying strictly on your defense. And like, it's fine against Kentucky, but there were some comments earlier like Tennessee's good. Alabama looks like they can make some noise. Missouri looks pretty good. Like they went and took care of a decent Boston College team this weekend. Like the and Texas, like the SEC looks pretty loaded right now. And if you're Georgia and you're struggling against maybe a bottom tier SEC team, I understand these kinds of games happen. That like they've happened all the time for every team that's been really good. Like everybody has a lapse in a game, but they just looked off from the little bit that I got to watch it. If you were to rank your top 3 SEC teams right now, where are you putting those rankings?
Oh, I'll give Georgia. Oh man,
Do it.
It's
Do it. Put Texas one.
No, Tennessee scares me the most, honestly. Like if I'm thinking about it from Buckeyes, like I think Tennessee scares me, dude. The top of the SEC. I know it's every year. SEC is pretty damn good, but I'm like looking at it and I'm looking at Georgia's schedule right now, and I'm like, I don't know how they escape this with how they played. Again, they're Georgia. They can probably turn things around pretty quickly. How they played, like you can convince me that they lose 3 games the rest of the season between Bama, between Texas, Tennessee, Ole Miss on the road. Like they could lose 3 of those 4 because they got Bama on the road. So I would say I'm not fully. I know that Texas hasn't given me anything to not believe in them. I don't think I'm as bought into them overall. Like again, Michigan's just a bad team, and
yeah, like the
still
more I
some
watch
things I want to see
Michigan
with
play,
Texas.
the less I give a ton of weight to that Texas Michigan matchup.
Yeah.
I have a SEC insider that just sent me a text. They're listening in right now, and they wanted to make sure this is on the record. So they have Texas, Alabama, and Tennessee as their top 3. They were ranking 1 through 3.
So Texas, Alabama, Tennessee.
Yeah. So Georgia outside of the top 3. I think if I were looking at this, my personal opinion on it is I go Texas as the 1. I understand Michigan isn't all they hyped up to be, but Texas hasn't given us like the same thing I say about Ohio State. Like you can't mess with their ranking too much, even with the bye week, because like they haven't given you any reason to say they don't belong in that spot. Texas has done nothing but whoop up on everybody that they played against. I think they are rightfully at the top of the SEC. Alabama, I'm a little more shaky on in that 2 spot. I think I go Tennessee there. I think in the 3rd, I'm almost more inclined to go in a Ole Miss or Missouri type direction than I am a Georgia or an Alabama, because I watched most of that Alabama game, and the score does not necessarily reflect what the product actually was on the field. Like they got lucky on a punt return that they ended up getting a fumble off of a true freshman that was back there. Like the quarterback goes out early in a game that like seemed pretty tight early on. So I don't know if I feel good about Alabama being up there in that top 3 right now, where like Ole Miss, granted, has not played anybody, and Missouri went and took it to a Boston College team that I think is decent. Like I think they're a quality ACC team that they kind of just went and smacked up on, and it didn't seem like that game was ever in doubt. So I'm more inclined to put an Ole Miss or a Missouri up there than I am an Alabama or Georgia, given Georgia's recent struggle against Kentucky, and Alabama I'm just not completely sold on yet.
Yeah, man. This is probably more exposed to it because of like the reality of like a 12-team playoff. Like, man, this just feels as and maybe because there's one that's like not in front of the others, but it's just like this SEC, top of the SEC just feels like it's anybody's. It truly is anybody's, and it just feels so stacked that like any of these teams could take over. And again, it's probably because Georgia's not Georgia's not out front. Alabama's not out front by a wide margin. So very excited to see how things end up there. So okay. Anything else? I think we got to end this episode. Anything?
Yeah, we might have to get out of here. I think the big things to note, like coming up this week, there's been conversations around Nebraska. Like they seem to be a bigger threat to the Buckeyes than we initially maybe expected. I was high on Nebraska coming into the season, but maybe not as high as they've kind of reflected on the field. They have a matchup against Illinois this week. Illinois shown some signs of that. So it'll be curious to see, you get Big Ten football. How does a Nebraska team that's starting to get a little bit of limelight put on them? How do they respond? Like, how does Dylan Ravioli play against, a Big Ten opponent? And then the other one is like USC and Michigan. We've dogged on Michigan from week one of just they don't seem like they're very good, and we have really, really
evoluted.
We've really elevated USC into what we consider one of the top tier Big Ten programs. Where, if you remember right, like coming into the season, I wasn't sold on USC. I didn't think they were ready for Big Ten football. And that defense looks rejuvenated and looks light years better than they did last year when they had, the first overall draft pick and Caleb Williams on the other side of the ball. They couldn't get a stop to save their life. This year they look much better. So I'll be curious. Like, it's kind of the matchup of like the opposites, clashing of USC at the top of like the perception right now across the country of people think they're really good. Michigan's at the bottom of people think they're really bad. Like, this is a good litmus test for both of those programs of where are you truly at? Like, what is the outcome of the rest of the season look for both these programs? I'm excited to watch that one and kind of see what Alex Orgy's about, and if USC is really as good as we're kind of expecting them to be at this point in the season.
I think they are. I think they got this. I hate to cheer for Lincoln Riley, and especially now that they're in the Big Ten. Like, again, we if we do see them, it's not until December or January. But I really would like to see.
It would give me so much joy for that to be the second loss on their record heading into like week 4 or week 5. You're 2-2. You just made a QB change that obviously didn't work out. Like, that's a really good indicator for recruiting and for like the future of that program, that things just aren't looking up. I want to see that so badly. I think that's going to be a closer game than people expect.
Okay. All right.
As much as I would love to see the downfall, I think it's going to be a closer game than some people might assume.
Okay. I disagree, but we can.
I hope I'm wrong. Really hope I'm wrong
too.
It's hard for me to root for USC as well, because like I'm just not a big fan of the program.
Yep.
We'll see. But
Perfect.
This was an interesting episode. We're still figuring out this live stream thing.
Listen, it was a bye week. It was you're in the middle of the country, and man, it's what, we'll be back. We'll be back and better than ever. We will have a game to recap. We'll have a game to preview. You will be in your beautiful home. I will be in my beautiful home, and we'll be better than ever next Monday.
Is it really choppy now that camera's on?
No, it's actually pretty good.
I should have tried it out earlier. to see if it would hold up once we went live, but it is what it is. It is what it is. We got some good screen grabs, and I had more fun with this than I should have.
I did
hey,
too.
Like you said, we're building the plane as we fly over here at Buckeye Breakdown. We're getting shut down by corporate media powers, by Twitter. They just don't want to see us succeed. But we persevere. It's what we do.
It's what we do.
Buckeye tough. We head into week 4 after the bye week, and we'll come back stronger with a phenomenal recap over a big Buckeye win, and have a lot to talk about next Monday.
Exactly. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back. Follow us on Twitter, X, Buckeye BDN. Subscribe here on YouTube. Like it. And yeah, thank you all for tuning in with us. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.